Good morning, gamers! Yes, it's true, I've been gone for a little bit, and yes, it's true, I'm back. I have been working on some rather large projects that I hope one day will in fact see the light of day. For those of you who actually watch my streams, you know what I'm talking about, because I've described them in a bit more detail over there. And if you haven't, what's wrong with you? I'll talk a bit more about them tonight on stream again, in case you wanted to ask some questions or hear about it or whatever. But today we are talking about champagne socialists, bougie communists. The people who say eat the rich even though they are the rich that will inevitably be eaten. Now, of course, in one of my more recent videos, we talked about Black Lives Matter leader Patrisse Cullors, and how, despite her Marxism, her equality above all rhetoric, she's raking in the cash and buying 4 separate homes. Well, let's listen to her talk about it.
Also a critique, though, from the left that would say, if you are a trained Marxist, if we're talking about a certain kind of radical politic, that extravagant homes of any sort or multiple properties of any sort is itself contradictory to the ideology that you hold. And so it's not about having money per se, but that it's about, or about property per se, but it's about there being a potential contradiction between your expressed politics and your lived practice.
Sure, and I think that is a critique that is wanting. And I say that because the way that I live my life is in direct support to Black people, including my Black family members, first and foremost. And for so many Black folks who are able to invest in themselves and their community, they choose to invest in their family. And that's what I've chosen to do. I have a child, I have a brother that has severe mental illness that I take care of. I support my mother, and I support many other family members of mine. And so I see my money as not my own. I see it as my family's money as well.
Pretty incredible, eh? Is that all it takes to make this massive wealth accumulation acceptable within a Marxist lens? So every billionaire, every dirty, rotten capitalist who is raking in the dough hand over fist, if they're doing it for their families, if they're taking care of their families, it's okay. Is that what I'm hearing here? Or maybe it's because her family is Black, and therefore she can say that by taking care of her family, she is taking care of Black people. If you're looking at it through a race lens, I guess that makes sense, but it's still pretty disgusting, eh? Of course, the actual truth is, it does not betray Marxist principles in practice because it is exactly what every single Marxist leader has ever done throughout the entire history of Marxism. And yes, there will be idiots on the left who will look at this and say, this isn't a leftist problem, this is a liberal problem. She's a radlib. Intersectionality and identity politics, that's radlib shit. Yeah, I'm not convinced of that.
I was at the art publications table today, and I was speaking to this young person from Arizona who's trying to fight SB 1070, and he grabbed a book and he said it's like Mao's Red Book, and I was like, man, that's what I was thinking. And it was just really cool to hear him make that connection. I was like, how about you buy like 10 to 15 of these books and you all have like a youth organizing group where you talk about it and you really try to engage this, and we can just we need to build off of this.
No liberal would ever compare their writing to Mao's Little Red Book. That is the rhetoric of a socialist revolutionary. Moreover, I like how she just says, yeah, just, buy 10, 15 of those books, why don't you? Pay for my houses, poor people. Here's what I mean, though. Look at this person's bio. Yeah, it's cancerous, but this is what a leftist would say is a liberal bio, is a radlib bio. Nothing in here talks about class conflict or class struggle. Nothing in here talks about Marxism or socialism or communism. It is all idpol. And yet, hot take, the rural white America that left-wing people flirt so much with loving is a bunch of landlords. They are far, far more repulsive than the professional managerial class that is so hated, and the fact that they are not identified as class enemies is a failure. Like, you want to invoke Mao? Liquidate white farmers and hand their land over to the Latinx farm workers and convert it back to native land directly. These are not liberal positions. In fact, as contradictory as it might sound on the face of it, these are bourgeois socialist opinions. This is literally kill the kulaks rhetoric. Kill the poor who refuse to revolt with us. Remember New Guy? Well, here's Mallory Jessica Yoshida's person who drew that comic, and who still, a year and a half later, has not gotten over it. She has no empathy for the wealthy and wants to steal from the rich. You gotta pay quite a bit to live in Seattle, but fine. Howdy, I'm the weird and dorky cartoonist behind Nightmare Girls. Money, please! It is great when they just get straight to the point, isn't it? Give me what you have. That's all it is. You know what? I think beneath most socialist activism, it's just egoism in the end. When supplies of drugs run low, drug prices mysteriously rise, data shows. And the less competition, the higher the price hikes. This can't be a real article. I mean, I know it's on Ars Technica, but you have to be ignorant of like all economics to be surprised at this, right? When nearly 100 drugs became scarce between 2015 and 2016, their prices mysteriously increased more than twice as fast as their expected rate. An analysis recently published reveals the price hikes were highest if the pharmaceutical companies behind the drugs had little competition. Literally Econ 101. How is this happening? No one's competing with these guys? Supplies running out? Why are the prices going up? This happened here in Canada last summer. The vandalism of a Nazi monument in Ontario is being investigated as a hate crime. Oh geez, we have Nazi monuments here apparently. A monument in Oakville, Ontario, commemorating those who served under Adolf Hitler in the 14th SS Division was recently graffitied with the words Nazi War Monument. The incident, which police say appeared to target an identifiable group, is being investigated as a hate-motivated crime. I guess if the legal definition of hate-motivated crime is targeting an identifiable group, SS officers is an identifiable group. But here's the actual situation. Someone painted Nazi War Monument on a stone cenotaph located in Oakville in the St. Volodymyr Ukrainian Cemetery. Oakville has a large population of Ukrainian immigrants and refugees, and the 14th SS Division was made up of Ukrainians who pledged allegiance to Hitler. Some members of the division have been accused of killing Polish women and children as well as Jews during the Second World War. So fair enough. Countries like Ukraine and Poland and others, who have historically found themselves between a rock and a hard place, with the Russians and the Germans on either side, probably did have some people who ended up doing this stuff. And you know, even though this is part of some Ukrainian cultural heritage, maybe we shouldn't be doing this sort of stuff in Canada, eh? Of course, it might be the case that the reason that the 14th SS Division is memorialized in places like Canada is not because they were actually the 14th SS Division. They were, at one point. The actual history of the division is that it was one of the only divisions that was not found guilty of any wrongdoing during the Second World War at the Nuremberg trials. Additionally, a lot of the individuals involved were forced into service, and as the Nazis began to lose the war, large parts of the unit started working for the Ukrainian Insurgent Army, which was a paramilitary organization that fought during World War II against the Soviet Union, Communist Poland, as well as Nazi Germany. And in the war's last year, the entire 14th SS Division abandoned Germany and became the first Ukrainian division. In other words, it's not as simple as saying that these people were Nazis and that was that. A large number of veterans from this division did in fact move to Canada and end up in Oakville, but they were all vetted by the Canadian government, and as best as we can tell, they seem to be innocent. Of course, if you're a brain-dead, bougie communist, you're just going to spray paint Nazi War Monument and leave it at that. In much the same way, when Canada began building a memorial to the victims of communism, of course these same people will spray paint on it, communism will win. The best part about this is that it's not even denying the victims of communism. It's not denying the fact that they were victims, that they got liquidated, that they were put in camps en masse and killed. It's simply saying, yeah, no, communism's going to win anyway. We will kill all these people and it's not going to be a problem because we're going to win. Like, holy shit. It's one thing to deny atrocities, it's another thing entirely to say those atrocities were good. Now you can find this image anywhere, but this particular one that I'm looking at is on r/America's Socialists, a pro-socialist subreddit. And check out some of the comments under this image. You people are absolute scum. I have a few Romanian construction worker friends that would love to enlighten you about life under communism. A naive consumer of heartbreaking stories. They're all innocent victims of communism. But if you check most of their stories, the reality is quite different. I personally checked more than one such story, and all of these innocent victims turned out to either be murderers or Nazi collaborators. Canada sheltered thousands of Nazi criminals after World War II. The descendants of these scum built such memorials with impunity and invent millions of victims of communism. I like how You can't be a liberal and oppose communism. If you oppose communism, you have to be a fascist. These people do not understand why normal, everyday, non-political, unaligned people oppose them. And I'm sure you guys remember this too, eh? Same energy? Where a US cadet who wore a Che Guevara t-shirt underneath his uniform and had "Communism Will Win" in his hat got completely expelled. And I think he pretty much ruined his life. Yeah, after doing a quick search, this image took place back in 2018. He hasn't really done anything since. He just retweets a bunch of lefties on Twitter, but he doesn't seem to be doing anything in any political space. Good job, dude. You did it. You beat capitalism. But of course, the best takes come from Tanky Collective. DM this guy any cursed tanky takes you might find. Here, I'll give you a lightning round of these ridiculous takes. What the hell kind of socialist rejects and demonizes Stalin? Imagine playing teacher's pet to the bourgeoisie, lapping up their propaganda and slander against one of the greatest revolutionary thinkers and leaders of all time. Oh, I'm one of the good socialists. I hate Stalin. Imagine standing for Hitler. That is the level that we're talking about here. The US is more authoritarian than China ever will be. Fucking incredible, dude. Are we exterminating the Uyghurs? Do we have a social credit system? And speaking of the Uyghurs, it's better to be Uyghurs because Uyghurs doesn't suffer any repression unlike our Palestinian comrades. That's how it is, eh? You just define oppression as something that only non-socialist countries can do. There's a fellow on Twitter named Bestfort. Reactionary, so you're just a filthy communist? Me, yes, thank you very much. Turns out Bestfort is the founder and CEO of a company. You're not much of a communist, are you? Hammer and sickle in name. In that case, fascism is based. What? Oh, he's referring to red fascists, otherwise known as the Soviets. It was the Kuomintang who did little to defeat the Japanese. They chose to fight the communists, who were fighting the Japanese. As a result, the communists became more popular. They won the war in China, and I'm using their flag, you fucking Maoist. So the Kuomintang ended up becoming the Taiwan liberal government. And before World War II, the nationalists were fighting the communists in a civil war in China. They basically set aside their civil war when the Japanese invaded and then resumed it after World War II was over. It's true that the Chinese nationalists viewed the communists as the worst threat compared to the Japanese, and guess what? They were right. And yes, they do think that red fascism is good. Wow. I don't even know how to present this to you. There's no jokes that can be made. There's no lightheartedness here. It's just they're just open about it. Dude, I already dealt with time-traveling famines and forest massacres. Now I gotta deal with time-traveling forged documents? There's a lot of Nazi-exploitation fiction that has time traveling in it, right? Along with vampires and werewolves and robots and hidden moon bases and shit. People in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, otherwise known as North Korea, have a better standard of living than many in the US and other Western nations. Stop repeating imperialist bullshit. If you were living in North Korea, you would not even have the crab in your avatar to eat. Get the difference yet, Vosh? Nazis started the Holocaust and communists ended the Holocaust. I can't believe I have to come to Vosh's defense here because he is at least nominally anti-tanky. But yeah, I'm not going to be pro-Nazi collaborator or pro-Gulag, thank you very much. Plus, I found it really funny. This guy here, this guy that he used as the Nazi image, he ended up being an embarrassment to the Nazi party because he was considered to be the exemplar of the Aryan race, and yet he was like 1/4 or 1/8 Jewish, it turned out later. Rural voters are incredibly stupid, incredibly racist, incredibly evangelical, or incredibly fascist. Often all four. This is literally just socialist moved to the city to pay $5,000 for a one-room apartment and hates his hometown. And here's the reply he got. No, poverty-stricken, underfunded areas aren't as educated or up to moral code as I think they should be. Let's leave them to suffer. And he said, if it were up to me, their suffering would not be the result of indifference, but direct action. Socialists hate the poor. Nazi death camps are bad and Soviet gulags are good. Like, fuck, do we need to go any further? You know, I was hoping this video would be like kind of funny. Maybe we can make have some laughs, make some jokes. And we've had a couple jokes so far, but like, I'm just stunned. I'm stunned at leftist communists and the shit that they say. Your reminder today is Delete Facebook Day because Zuckerberg will favor Donald Trump's freedom of speech over democracy. He's out of office. He's been out of office for 6 months. Is this going to be like rent-free in leftists' heads for a while? Is Donald Trump going to be the political equivalent of that one girl that got away? So your family suffered under quote-unquote communism. Why should I care? Look at this smug motherfucker. Do you even need to play the video? Look at this guy. Yeah, I don't care if my politics killed your family members. What's that? Is that the sound of me losing the whole ass moral high ground when it comes to slavery? How could you have lived through 2020 and not become a communist? Based fucking Tina here. I've been following her on Twitter for a while. She's great. Because my morgue only has a capacity of 2,500 bodies. But COVID. Yeah, we never reach capacity. It's always incredible when people working in healthcare or working in science come out and completely debunk everything regarding the mainstream media narrative. Victims of Communism Memorial Foundation adds global coronavirus deaths to its tally of historical victims of communism. The Victims of Communism Memorial Foundation is officially recognizing global coronavirus deaths as the fault of the Chinese government and adding them to its tally of historical victims of communism, the organization announced on Friday. You know, if commies are going to do this really stupid song and dance of blaming, like, people who die of starvation on, say, capitalism, which is dumb for 1,000 fucking reasons. But if they're going to do that, then yeah, I guess this makes sense. Let's watch the advancement of a character arc, okay? From DSA Racist. I actually kind of know this guy. He has been hating on me on and off for fucking years. Vosh is one of the most badly read, terribly spoken, incoherent breadtubers out there. I wouldn't trust the leftism of a single one of his followers. I mean, fair enough. That's true. But we're now into real leftist versus radlib territory, and our friend E-Boy Neat is taking up the position that the breadtubers are radlibs, actually, and he is the real leftist. Okay, well, let's see what this real leftism is. The Uyghur genocide is a CIA-manufactured myth pushed by the National Endowment for Democracy, which is a U.S. State Department slush fund. I swear to God. You know how, like, the right wing has the QAnon cultists who are really believing some wild-ass out-there shit? I have a feeling the CIA is that same kind of thing to the radical leftists who are believing wild-ass out-there shit. Not only was there no cultural genocide, Tiananmen Square was a CIA operation too. Fuck it, I'm done with theatrics. You know what? Genocide good. Real leftism is when genocide good. Holy fuck. Oh yeah, this is the thing that I mentioned on Adam and Sitch's show a couple days ago. It turns out it wasn't a Twitter post, it was actually a Reddit post. But somebody posted on ContraPoints' subreddit, is Contra okay? And then the post is removed. But it has to do with how Contra has been looking on camera recently. Those of you who don't know, she has a drug problem and some other things going on. And Contra says, "That's my hair growing back in. I guess 4chan wouldn't know about that because they can't afford that. Aw lol." What she's referring here specifically is how there is a 4chan board for trans people, which is, it can be a little bit insular and a little bit out there, to be honest. But a lot of the trans people there are quite poor and can't afford a lot of the various surgeries and things that are involved in transitioning. And so here is ContraPoints making fun of poor 4chan trannies who can't afford to do the things that they want to do. Fuck me, dude. Like, I've been called transphobic before. I don't think I am. There are certainly things that I don't understand about the whole trans situation, but I try my best to at least learn about them. And I'm also as polite as I can be whenever possible, because there's no reason not to be, right? But fuck, I wouldn't make fun of somebody because they can't afford to transition. Like, what the fuck? And people call ContraPoints a radlib. Like, she's not a true leftist either. It seems like whenever we find, like, a person who's like, no, I'm a real leftist. I'm actually a socialist. I'm not a radlib. And then they say, like, one ridiculous thing, and then suddenly they're cast out as a radlib. But that's everybody. That's everybody in the movement. They're all that. The U.S. is worse than Nazi Germany. So if it were World War II right now and the U.S. were fighting against Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan, you would support the latter too? Says the person with the hammer and sickle in their name again. Because I oppose the U.S., I would be supporting those. Becoming fascist to own the libs. I swear to God, it turns out that, like, socialists, at least the ones that are more honest about the ideology, understand that a socialist society is not the goal of socialism. It's the destruction of liberalism. That's it. Socialism itself is just straight up unachievable, but it is the tool that they will use to dismantle the liberal state and then bring in their totalitarianism. I'm so fucking tired of the anti-tanky left. They just piss me the fuck off and annoy me to no end. How dare you be against the worst societies in the history of the planet? The Katin Massacre was literal Nazi war propaganda. The Nazis revealed it. An investigation by Poland and the USSR/Russian Federation later found there was less than a third as many victims as initially reported, and they were executed by German weapons. Then why did the USSR admit that it happened? Okay, so what it was an ethnic cleansing of Poles by the Soviets after Nazi Germany and Soviet Russia cut Poland in half. When the Nazis later invaded the Soviet Union, they discovered the atrocity and presented it to the world. And history has since shown that they presented it to the world accurately. Because after the Soviet Union fell, the Russians revealed evidence that yes, the Stalinists had indeed done it. The Nazis were clearly guilty of their own crimes, but they presented this one accurately. And it is a common socialist talking point today to deny the Katin Massacre. In fact, I think Vosh actually did it once a couple of years ago, but I don't think he knew what it was. He just knew that leftists deny the Katin Massacre, so he was going to deny it. I hope he's since changed his stance. And this happened recently. From Black Hammer Times. Thanks to all of you, Black Hammer has successfully liberated 200 acres of land to build our city, for colonized people only. We are located high up in the mountains, 10,000 feet in the air, with rich soil. We have 1 lake and 3 rivers on the land. The Black Hammer Times are, in fact, a radical socialist group. They've now purchased, presumably purchased this land, and they're building a commune. And, you know, good for them. It's their choice to do what they want. Go ahead. But keep in mind, this is going to be a commune run by this guy.
Hello, Antifa. It's me, Ghazi, the Commander-in-Chief of the Black Hammer Organization. Land back? Land back! Land back? Land back! I heard you had some not-so-nice things to say about me. I heard you had so nice things to say about my hammers. I heard you had not so nice things to do to one of my members, one of my dear, dear members, an African Filipino mother that you doxed and thought you could get away with it, thought we were gonna back down, thought we were gonna take it. No, that's not gonna happen. You messed with the wrong one this time. Yes, oh yes you did. Oh, yes, you did. Because we don't take it lightly when harm is done to our African and colonized women. And that's why at Black Hammer we say, touch one, touch all. 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 And you touched one of us. So now you've touched all of us, and we're gonna have to do something about it.
And with takes like this, didn't you call Anne Frank a colonizer? She is. You know how there's like a lot of hatred towards Jewish people from black people, like in very general terms, like the Louis Farrakhan types? Yeah, that is the cloth these people are cut from. Y'all whites gonna keep asking us how we're gonna keep ourselves warm up in the mountains? Don't y'all already know it just takes a good book to burn and some nice wood? So they're gonna burn Anne Frank's books to keep warm? Holy fuck. Colonizers have enslaved, genocided, ate, tortured, and oppressed us for centuries, but get mad when we say we're gonna burn a white girl's diary. Sorry, but we don't share the same material reality with daughters of German imperialists and armies that killed our people. When your socialism is woke enough to murder the Jews. Fuck. This will be probably the most insane take in this entire video, and it's going to be because there's actually a lot of it. So let's check this out, okay? This is on Quora. It's an answer to the question, what do communists want? I want to stop having to be on the defensive against propaganda and liberal lies about communism. Anti-communists regurgitate some Cold War or Nazi propaganda about socialism always failing or Mao killed a gazillion people, and somehow this is supposed to surprise, shock, and deflate me. Yeah, you sound like the Nazi who, when he's told that there are 6 million Jews dead, he's like, I know, it's good, isn't it? When I present actual facts that debunk the lies instead of them addressing my facts, they call me a Stalin apologist, Holocaust denier, etc. Who's being irrational? Who's using facts? Or am I supposed to just say, okay, thank you for enlightening me with your capitalist propaganda and Russophobic white nationalism? Weren't the Russians white? People don't want to cooperate. You will have to use violence to stop those who resist having their riches nationalized. You will have to fill up the prisons with people who refuse to pay their taxes. That's actually true. If a bunch of insulin manufacturing executives take up arms to prevent the people from nationalizing the industry and saving lives by bringing down the cost of insulin, then if violence is used to resist their violence, why is this a moral problem for me? Hold on. Wait. To resist? No. If violence is used to resist their, hold on. You're the one you're the one starting the violence here, man. If a bunch of insulin manufacturing executives take up arms to prevent the people from nationalizing the industry, listen, they own the business. All right. In preventing the people from nationalizing their industry, they are the ones on the defense. If violence is used to resist their violence, which is already a resistance of my violence, why is this a moral problem for me? See, he has to phrase it as if he's on the defensive, but he's not. He's the aggressor. I would enjoy smashing them. It would mean justice is done. Justice is done when we prevent people who own their property from doing what they like with it. Yeah, okay. Marxist classes would be required so that people can learn to be more pro-social and less selfish. Just straight up propaganda, all right. No, I don't feel sorry for the kulaks. They killed many families during their riots. They slaughtered half the livestock used to farm the land. They hid grain to speculate on prices, knowing people were suffering. They probably hid grain to eat themselves, you fuck. They encourage others to stop growing again, which would have made the famine worse. They deserved it. In this photo, Soviet workers found them hiding grain. The kulaks deserve what they got. So, if you own a farm and you want to say, own the means of production and keep the produce of your labor, then you're a kulak. Literally what socialists say they want before they take power. After they take power, if people actually have it, you're a fucking kulak. Democracy stinks. At least this guy's mask off about it. Studies have shown there is no relationship between the public wants and policy enactment. Zero. Yeah, okay, sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. American-style representative democracy is a farce. The rich own the politicians. At least in China, they have a functional and well-run government that plans the economy. China only started becoming relevant when they liberalized and opened up. And they're not even that liberal. They just allowed some kind of liberal economics to take hold. Human nature is communism. Up until 12,000 years ago, humans lived as hunter-gatherers in communist societies. Moneyless, stateless, and classless. It sounds like you're a reactionary, my friend, trying to go back to the past. Evolution has shaped us towards communism, not capitalism. Nah, bullshit. Again, I've talked about this before in the past, and there will probably be a much deeper video on the subject in the future, but we are evolutionarily shaped towards liberalism, in fact. There is a reason that we have a base understanding of property in our psychology that seems to be innate. People have no understanding of communism. At the beginning of the movie 2001, A Space Odyssey, the early humans wake up to find the monolith. They nervously approach it, not sure what to make of it. It fascinates them, so they get closer and poke it. But then they cower away. They are intrigued, terrified, fascinated, and mystified by it. It is alien to them. It is so beyond their range of comprehension. It is literally beyond anything they could imagine. It is alien. They don't know what to make of it. Their best guesses are not even close. It is an entirely different paradigm. It represents the next leap forward of human existence, and they don't know it. I see this same phenomenon in how people approach communism. There is no difference. Communism is the monolith. Hold on. In the previous point, you said that communism was what we lived in. It's our nature. And now you're saying that it's this alien object that is completely not like us at all. And moreover, you're worshiping it like a god. This is some literal God is the state fascist shit here. No, Joseph Stalin wasn't a monster. No, he didn't cause the Holodomor. He didn't kill 60 million people. He didn't become besties with Hitler. The kulaks deserved it. And the purges were not a cynical attempt by him to grab power. The people voted for the purges and wanted them. Hold on. Didn't you just say that democracy was bad? Okay, wait. Hold on. I gotta parse this here. Democracy bad. That's what he said in a previous point. But he also said democracy. People voted for purges, and purge is good. Like, this guy contradicts his own points constantly in this. Democracy bad unless they vote for what I want. Holodomor isn't real, but the kulaks deserved it. Communism is both the future and our ancient past. Fuck, dude. Mao and friends didn't kill a gazelle. Mao and friends sounds like a Saturday morning cartoon show. Fuck. They didn't intentionally cause famines. The overwhelming majority of those who were killed by communists were traitors, saboteurs, Nazis, violent kulaks, and class enemies hell-bent on returning people to capitalist slavery. I don't know what kind of warped reality you have to live in to think any of these things, man. To think that the Soviets were good, to think that the Maoists were good, or the Cubans or the Venezuelans. Like, fuck me, dude. Like, you've seen this meme before, right? Where it's the Joker, and it's like, you don't like capitalism, yet you exist. iPhone, Venezuela, sometimes it's Vuvuzela. Bottom text, 100 billion dead. Even, like, Shoe on Head has said this in her videos at some point. And it's amazing. Like, imagine being a Nazi in 2021, and someone approaches you with the legitimate, obvious, glaring problems in the fact that you're a Nazi, okay? And then you say, lol, Germany, Jews, 6 million cookies baked. The fact that you can memify something does not actually refute that thing, but that's something that people like Shu, the socialist millennials and Zoomers, don't really understand. To them, memifying is the same thing as refuting. There seems to be this common attitude among these types of people, where all sincerity is run down by irony. Cynicism rules the day, and if you're hopeful, or if you're building towards something, or if you're happy, or you feel like you have your life on track, if you're grateful, if you have a sense of duty, if you value love over casual sexual connection, any of these more esoteric qualities, these people would absolutely batter you with cynicism. And fair enough, cynical humor is pretty funny. But I really do think this too cool for school, I'm a cynic about everything, fedora-tipping atheist edgelord nonsense has defined a lot of their politics, as well as their emotional state. Probably why all the atheist YouTubers became socialists in the end. And of course this is what these people are, guys. Reddit's r/socialism survey. 48% unemployed, 61% live with their parents, 14% support free speech. Is anyone surprised? Now, like, I'm not gonna shit on people if they're unemployed. It can be hard to get a job. I'm not gonna shit on them if they're living with their parents. Sometimes it's hard to get started in life. Or maybe you're saving money so that you can actually go and do something big with it. But the free speech thing, that's pretty unacceptable, isn't it? The stereotype of leftists and socialists on the right wing is one of spoiled losers, unemployed, listless, with no regard for economics or the law. But just how true is the stereotype? According to a public survey on Reddit's r/socialism board, it's painfully accurate. According to the survey, in which the results were self-admitted by the predominantly leftist users of the board, 48% of the young socialists are unemployed, and a stratospherically high number of 61% still live with their parents. Furthermore, the results found that 69% of the board's users were uneducated, 46% support violent riots, and just 14% support the constitutional definition of unlimited free speech. This is not the first time that documentation of leftists being losers has been confirmed, as a study of Antifa activists in Europe confirmed that 9 out of 10 leftist protesters still live with their parents. Alright, obvious bias of this article being left aside for a minute. It is funny to see this sort of thing get confirmed, isn't it? Again, I do have some sympathy for them. There is a difference between the guy who lives at home because he's taking care of his parents, or his parents live 15 minutes away from the university and he's going to school and it's just cheaper to stay there. Or if he's saving up money to move away, or launch a business, or go to school, or buy his own place, whatever. There are reasons to do this stuff, but I don't have much sympathy for people who just sit around and waste what little money they have on booze or drugs, or worthless shit that doesn't help them get ahead, and then complain that they're still living at their parents'. You make choices, you have to live with them. I will say, these people generally do have good intentions. They believe that their ideas, as idealistic and utopian as they are, they can make everyone equal and eliminate all injustice. The eliminate all injustice stuff is good, even though it's unobtainable. The making everyone equal stuff isn't good. As long as there are differences in the quality and quantity of production, there will always be inequality. Trying to make everyone equal is actually not a good idea. It's a bad idea. But on the surface level, I can see why it's appealing to some people. You don't want there to be racism or sexism. So fair enough. But the problem with them is that they're idealistic and utopian. Even the good things that they want to do, and in my opinion there's not much good, but even the good things that they want to do, they cannot actually accomplish. The libertarian socialists cannot actually do what they want to do without becoming the tankies they claim to despise. But the worst part of all is when they see people who disagree with them, whether that be conservatives or liberals or even fascists, but they have their own problems, the socialists get very angry. Because from their point of view, they're working to save the world, and they can't understand why no one else wants to save it with them. So they just look at everyone and say that they're hateful, or they're bigoted, or they want people to be oppressed. When the actual answer is that most people who are liberals and who are conservatives, they're realists who want freedom. And they understand that freedom and equality are somewhat incompatible, because if you allow people to simply be free and do what they want, they will act in an unequal manner. And you end up with socialists outright despising non-socialists because they think they're evil. They think they're on a glorious crusade to save human civilization from itself. And that is how you get to all of the examples I've shown you today. From the intersectionalists talking about class war and class conflict, to the socialists who decry the Stalinists, simply because they have not yet allowed their ideas to come to their natural end, and the Stalinists themselves for being the fascist pieces of shit that they actually are. This is why people say that the radical left is good while the radical right is bad. That the radical left simply means extreme equality for everyone, even though that would actually be bad. And the radical right wants to eradicate everyone who's not them. But from the radical right's point of view, they just want extreme freedom for everyone. And they view the radical left as wanting to eradicate everyone who's not them. As always, the truth is somewhere in the middle. If you don't think that both extreme ends of the spectrum have a taste for genocide, you have to be historically ignorant. But at the same time, there are well-meaning leftists out there who simply want people to be cared for. And there are well-meaning rightists out there who simply want people to be left alone. I think, to your average person, the rightist position seems less harmful overall, because if you're left alone, well then you're just left alone. You might suffer, you might not suffer, but at the very least the situation will be in your hands. Meanwhile, the goals of the moderate leftist requires a lot more centralized control to actually do the caring, so when things go wrong, they go wrong for everyone. I think this might be the core reason why a lot of moderate leftists sometimes carry water for the tankies. While in my experience anyway, it's somewhat rare that the free marketeers carry water for the imperialists and the monarchists. But that is the champagne socialist in a nutshell. Sometimes good people with sometimes good intentions, who will ultimately be discarded if a socialist revolution ever actually happens. And just in case you think that might actually happen someday, I'll leave you with this fun video of a Democratic Socialist of America meeting on April 14th, 2021. These people ain't ever getting shit done, guys. Don't worry about it.
If we want to defeat capitalism, we are going to need a party that will organize working people to fight for the demands that we want and to win socialism. Thank you so much.
Quick point of privilege. Quick point of personal privilege.
Yes.
Guys, first of all, James Jackson, Sacramento, he, him. I just want to say, can we please keep the chatter to a minimum? I'm one of the people who's very, very prone to sensory overload. There's a lot of whispering and chatter going on. It's making it very difficult for me to focus. Please, can we just, I know we're all fresh and ready to go, but can we please just keep the chatter to a minimum? It's affecting my ability to focus. Thank you.
Thank you, comrade. Okay, is there a speaker against name, chapter, pronoun?
Point of personal privilege.
Yes.
Please do not use gendered language to address everyone.